Have you ever believed that spirituality and wealth are opposites? That to be truly enlightened, you must renounce all material possessions, give up desire, and live a life of simplicity or even poverty? This belief has been ingrained in many of us, taught in religious texts, echoed in spiritual communities, and reinforced by society. The spiritual path, we're told, is a path of detachment, and money, by that logic, becomes a symbol of greed, ego, and distraction. But what if that idea is incomplete? Enter Osho, a spiritual master known not only for his wisdom, but also for his radical and often controversial approach to life. Unlike many traditional teachers, Osho did not preach renunciation. He did not ask his followers to abandon the world, to escape from the marketplace, or to live in denial of the material realm. In fact, he encouraged the opposite, to embrace life fully, including money, success, and abundance, but with awareness. Osho believed that money is not inherently evil. It is neutral, a tool, a form of energy. The real issue, he said, is not money itself, but our unconscious attachment to it. When we chase wealth blindly, we become its slave. But when we understand it, when we use it consciously, it can become a powerful instrument of growth, joy, and even spiritual evolution. In this episode, we dive deep into Osho's philosophy on wealth. We explore how true freedom is not about rejecting money, but about transforming our relationship with it. How the real chains are not made of gold, but of fear, guilt, and conditioning around abundance. You'll hear Osho's thoughts on the illusion of poverty as a virtue, the myth that suffering equals spirituality, and how you can walk the path of both inner peace and outer prosperity. This isn't just about money. It's about waking up in a world that's deeply material without losing your soul. So if you've ever felt conflicted, torn between your desire to grow spiritually and your dreams of financial success, this episode is for you. Because maybe, just maybe, your path to enlightenment doesn't require you to leave the world behind. Maybe it asks you to show up fully, consciously, and joyfully, right in the middle of it. Welcome to Finance and Wealth Hub, your space for deep conversations on money, mindset, and meaning. Today, we're diving into a powerful topic, Osho on wealth, awakening in a material world. In this episode, we'll explore this journey through 6 core parts, each revealing a new layer of insight into how spirituality and success can truly coexist. So stay with us and let's begin. Part 1. Money, a brilliant human invention. Osho believed that money, far from being evil or unspiritual, was actually one of the most brilliant inventions of the human mind. To him, money was neither good nor bad. It was simply a tool. What mattered was the consciousness of the person using it. He often challenged the traditional spiritual belief that wealth and enlightenment were incompatible. In his words, money is a means, not an end. It can buy you books, but not wisdom. It can offer comfort, but not peace. In this simple yet profound distinction, Osho invites us to shift our relationship with money. The problem isn't money itself. It's our attachment to it, our obsession with it, and our tendency to define our self-worth by how much we have. When money becomes your master, you become a slave. But when you become its master, money becomes a bridge, not to greed, but to freedom. He posed a radical question to his followers. Why fight money when you can master it and use it for your inner evolution? This wasn't just a clever phrase. It was a challenge to wake up and recognize that rejecting money out of guilt or fear doesn't make you spiritual. It may just make you powerless. Real spirituality, Osho argued, includes the ability to be fully in the world, to engage with its systems and structures, including wealth, without being owned by them. In this light, earning money isn't a sin. Nor is building a business, living in comfort, or enjoying the fruits of your labor. What matters is how you do it, with awareness, balance, and an understanding that money is a servant, not a god. To Osho, A truly awakened person isn't one who renounces the world, it's someone who can live in the world and remain free. Money, used wisely, can support your growth, your service to others, and your ability to live a life aligned with your highest values. So in part one, we begin by reclaiming money, not as something dirty or distracting, but as a neutral, even beautiful invention, one that becomes sacred when used consciously. Part 2, when the rich begin to wake up. According to Osho, true spiritual seeking rarely begins in poverty. Instead, it often begins after wealth has been achieved. Why? Because wealth creates space. Once the struggle for survival has ended, a person finally has the time, freedom, and mental clarity to ask deeper questions. He put it simply, a poor man dreams of bread. A rich man, having tasted it all, dreams of truth. When someone is hungry, their thoughts are consumed by survival. They cannot meditate on enlightenment while worrying about rent or their next meal. But once material needs are met, once a person has built success, owned the cars, traveled the world, and achieved what others envy, something unexpected often happens. A strange emptiness creeps in. A quiet whisper begins. Is this all there is? That's the turning point. For Osho, this moment was sacred. Because when the illusion that more will make me whole begins to break, the real search begins, not for status or comfort, but for meaning. He argued that spiritual inquiry becomes authentic only when it is no longer fueled by fear, lack, or desperation. A person who seeks enlightenment only to escape hardship may not yet be ready, but one who turns inward after achieving worldly success, that person has the luxury and maturity to go deeper. This is why many of Osho's followers were highly educated, successful individuals, doctors, entrepreneurs, artists, intellectuals, people who had already played the game of success and won, only to realize the prize didn't fulfill them. Osho saw wealth not as a barrier to awakening, but often as a doorway. He believed that the rich are often closer to enlightenment, not because they are better, but because they are done chasing illusions. And when these individuals begin to wake up, their impact can be profound. They bring with them resources, influence, and reach, all of which can be used to spread awareness, compassion, and transformation. So in part 2, we discover this powerful paradox. Sometimes it is only after we get everything we thought we wanted that we're finally ready to seek what truly matters. Part 3, the poor, religion, and begging for miracles. Osho was never afraid to challenge conventional thinking, especially when it came to how religion and poverty are often intertwined. He was deeply critical of the way traditional religions romanticize poverty, portraying it as a virtue or a requirement for spiritual growth. In his view, this idea was not only misleading, it was dangerous. He once said, religion has become a consolation for the poor, a place to beg, not to awaken. According to Osho, many religious traditions have turned into emotional shelters for the poor, offering comfort rather than consciousness. Prayer, instead of being a doorway to self-discovery, often becomes a form of begging. People cry out to the heavens, give me money, give me a job, give me health, give me happiness. But these prayers, Osho warned, are rooted in fear and lack, not in presence or awareness. This kind of spirituality, he argued, is not a true spiritual path. It's a trade, a transaction, a spiritual marketplace where faith is exchanged for favors. Osho believed that true spirituality begins when the asking stops, when you are no longer looking for a miracle to save you or a God to reward you. Instead, you simply are. You sit in silence, you observe, you awaken. You begin to notice that peace does not come from what you receive, but from what you release, especially the desperate desire for more. He was not against the poor, but he was against the mindset of poverty, especially when it is glorified. He believed that poverty is not a path to God, but a barrier to awareness if it becomes your identity. In his teachings, he urged people to stop pleading and start being, not to seek the divine as something outside, but to discover it within, to understand that no amount of asking can bring you closer to truth. Only silence, presence, and self-realization can. So in part 3, we confront a powerful idea. Spirituality is not a plea for rescue. It is a journey into wholeness. And this journey begins not with asking for more, but with awakening to what already is. Part 4, Religion, the Final Luxury. Spirituality is the final luxury, Osho declared. A statement that may shock those who believe awakening belongs only to the poor or the renunciants. But Osho's message wasn't about wealth in the traditional sense. He wasn't saying you must be a millionaire to become spiritual. What he meant was deeper, more psychological, more practical, and profoundly honest. To Osho, true spirituality requires space. Space from fear, from hunger, from the constant noise of survival. When you're stuck in fight or flight, worried about your next meal, the rent, your debts, your consciousness is pulled to the ground. In that state, meditation becomes a luxury, not because it's inaccessible, but because your energy is consumed by survival instincts. When the body is cold and hungry, the soul becomes silent. But once your basic needs are met, once life becomes relatively stable, a quiet shift begins. You stop asking, how do I survive? And you begin to wonder, why am I here? What is truth? Who am I really? That shift from survival to self-inquiry, that's where Osho said real religion begins. He pointed out that in the modern world, people chase material comfort endlessly, but few know what to do once they catch it. After the gadgets, the trips, the promotions, comes a silence, an emptiness. And in that emptiness, if you dare to sit with it, a door opens. Osho believed the modern world was uniquely ready for a spiritual revolution, not in spite of our wealth and technology, but because of it. We now have the resources, the tools, and the freedom to go beyond survival, and therefore beyond the ego. He didn't ask us to fear wealth. He urged us to use it as a stepping stone, as a platform, as a stable ground from which to leap into the unknown. So in part 4, we uncover a bold truth. Spirituality isn't about poverty, it's about inner richness. And once the noise of daily struggle fades, the silence of the soul finally has room to speak. Part 5, Money as a Path to Freedom. Money in the hands of the conscious is a great blessing, Osho often said. This wasn't just poetic wisdom. It was a revolutionary shift in how we view wealth. For centuries, many spiritual traditions have painted money as the enemy, a corrupting force, a distraction from the soul, a symbol of ego, greed, and moral decay. But Osho turned that narrative on its head. He invited us to see money not as dirty, not as evil, but as neutral energy waiting to be shaped by the quality of our awareness. To him, money is a tool, a mirror, a magnifier. If you are unconscious, fearful, insecure, greedy, money will amplify those traits. It won't fix them. It'll expose them. But if you are present, rooted in awareness, clarity, and compassion, money becomes something entirely different. It becomes a path to freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom to choose, to create, to serve, to grow. With money, you can travel and open your mind. You can support causes, fund ideas, feed others, build sanctuaries for healing. You can study deeply, practice fully, and dedicate time to the inner path. And perhaps most importantly, you can work not just to survive, but to express your soul. That's the paradox Osho illuminated. Why not become rich, inside and out? Why should we have to choose between inner peace and outer prosperity when the two can nourish each other? He warned, if you hate money, it will stay away. If you chase it blindly, it will enslave you. But if you meet money with awareness, if you honor it as energy, use it with purpose, and release it without fear, then money becomes something sacred. It becomes part of your practice, part of your path. So in part 5, we dissolve yet another illusion. Money is not the enemy of enlightenment. Used consciously, it can be one of its greatest allies. Part 6, True Wealth is Balance. At the very core of Osho's teachings on money, there is one timeless truth. True wealth is not about denial, it's about balance. Unlike many spiritual masters who taught withdrawal, rejection, or renunciation, Osho stood for a bold middle path, one that embraces the material world without being imprisoned by it. He said it simply, don't escape the world, transcend it. That one sentence holds a revolution. It challenges centuries of spiritual conditioning, the belief that to be holy, one must be poor, that to be pure, one must abstain, that to be enlightened, one must reject wealth, beauty, or joy. To Osho, this mindset was not spiritual, it was fear dressed as piety. He invited us to fully live, to taste delicious food, to dance to beautiful music, to build elegant homes and successful ventures, to love deeply and give generously, but to do so without clinging, without ego, without fear, not indulgence, not addiction, but appreciation with detachment. This is what he meant by true wealth, not just the size of your bank account, but the depth of your presence, the openness of your heart, the peace in your mind. True wealth, Osho said, is not just what you earn, but what you awaken to. A billionaire with anxiety, fear, and loneliness may be bankrupt in spirit, while someone with modest means but deep awareness and joy may live in abundance beyond measure. In this final part of our journey, we come home to this: balance, harmony, wholeness. Master money, but don't be mastered by it. Enjoy luxury, but don't crave it. Live in the world, but never lose your center. Osho taught that simplicity isn't about owning less, it's about needing less. It's about walking through life lightly, free, awake, and open. You can have everything the world offers, but still choose to live in simplicity and awareness. That is the essence of awakened wealth. Not to flee the marketplace, but to walk through it, fully alive, fully conscious, fully free. Because in the end, true wealth is not just in what you have, it's in how deeply you can live, love, and let go. Reflect and reconnect. If this conversation moves something in you, don't let it fade away. Today, we've explored a transformative perspective on wealth, one that doesn't separate spirituality from material success, but intertwines them in a balanced, conscious way. Now it's time for you to reflect. Take a moment. How has this conversation shifted your thoughts on money, success, and spiritual growth? Are you using money as a tool for your personal freedom and growth? Or has it become something that controls your choices, your mindset, and your peace? Osho's teachings remind us that true wealth is about much more than the digits in your bank account. It's about how aware you are, how much you've awakened, and how aligned your life is with your highest values. Ask yourself, what does true wealth mean to you? Is it found in external success, or is it in your inner state of being? Is it in having, or in simply being? Osho's invitation is to transcend the attachment to wealth and material things. It's not about rejecting the world, it's about living fully in it, but without being owned by it. Let these reflections guide you as you move forward. Reconnect with your purpose, align your actions with what truly matters to you, and begin building a life that feels authentic, where both your outer wealth and inner peace grow together. If this conversation sparks something inside you, carry it forward. Live with intention, live with awareness, because that is where true wealth begins. Take action and stay tuned. If this episode resonated with you, don't let it be a passing thought. Take action. Start today, even if it's a small step, to rebuild your relationship with money and self. Whether it's a shift in mindset or a change in your financial habits, remember that the journey begins with one conscious decision. So, what will your first step be? Will it be a change in how you think about wealth? Or perhaps it's a small habit that brings awareness to your relationship with money. Subscribe to Finance and Wealth Hub for more thought-provoking ideas that challenge conventional wisdom. We're here to guide you on your pursuit of true wealth, both material and spiritual. And don't forget to share this episode with someone you care about. Whether they're on a similar journey or just beginning to explore these ideas, you never know how much it might mean to them. Stay tuned for more bold, transformative content that nurtures your growth and challenges the status quo. Keep moving forward. Your journey to wealth on every level is just beginning.